And I think we are live. Welcome, everyone, to the Green Nurse Podcast, where we bring you hope and inspiration for growth and healing. And we're going to start off the show with a little video before we get everyone on here.
We change the paradigm of healthcare.
The Green Nurse is a holistic cannabis nurse that teaches on the endocannabinoid system and the safe utilization of cannabis and other progressive tools to help people reach a better quality of life.
I'm the founder of Holistic Caring. We're based here in California, and we do educational programs and case management for patients on how to use cannabis therapeutically as a medicine.
We're also here to decrease stigma around what it means to feel good and be high, hence the H for hope, I for inspiration, G for growth, and H for healing.
As the founder of Holistic Caring, I basically oversee the whole ship, and what we're doing is progressive education.
Cannabis actually supports all 11 organ systems, our immune system, and all the neurotransmitter signaling systems that give messages to tell our body to either do something or not do something. Because the plant was prohibited, it prevented health professionals, doctors and nurses from learning about cannabis as medicine.
I want to change the paradigm of healthcare and us paving the way into a new vanguard of medicine. And I'm excited to really bring this into light. There's a company called Canam that we're merging with, and we will now be doing global education.
It's about education, it's about empowerment, it's about teaching people how to feel good, bridging the gap from what they're not getting from traditional medicine, utilizing different plant medicines, adaptogens, tips, tricks, hugs, and nugs of information to support and nourish the most important system in our body.
And it's a lot of soul work, a lot of love, a lot of discipline, and meditation. I'm using my life work as a testimony to others to learn how they can be their own hero and then go help heal the world.
And we are, as nurses, the game changers.
Boom!
Oh, can I just, that just gives me chills. I mean, seeing you and Elizabeth like doing your thing and the collaboration and
It's, here it is.
I have
We
goosebumps.
are the nurses. Nurses are the game changers when it comes to plant medicines. We just are. It's coming full circle. I am so excited to have you here today. Welcome everyone to the Green Nurse Podcast, where we do bring that hope and inspiration for growth and healing. We're here to change the dialogue and stigma around what it means to feel good. We all deserve to feel good. 2020 was the year of the nurse and the midwife, and 2021, the year of the nurse and the midwife, because we are doing extraordinary things here in the world as nurses and clinicians. We're changing the paradigm of healthcare. After all, THC is in healthcare, right? So we've been highlighting and illuminating cannabis nurses and nursing because we are in those revolutionary times when we're changing how we approach and take care of patients. So literally, we all don't wake up one day and say, hey, I'm going to be a cannabis nurse. I'm going to go into the cannabis industry. There is usually a compelling story that goes along with it. What makes someone enter into the cannabis space as a nurse? And then what makes someone shift to other plants and entheogens for healing? So I'm really, really excited tonight to introduce Cannabis Nurse Melanie Cross. She's a Board Certified Nurse Practitioner. Melanie is the functional plant medicine woman consultant at Crossable Health. Melanie spent over 2 decades in conventional medicine in a variety of roles, from ICU, emergency room nursing, to nurse practitioner in a family medicine environment. Through these many years, she realized she was not able to help people in the way that they deserve to be helped. Out of that frustration and knowing that there was a better way, Crossable Health was born, which helps people to go from crappy to happy without some dirty, crusty bandaid. All right. And I love that. It actually gets at clients' unique root cause using functional plant medicine and having fun in the process. Melanie is here with us today to have a discussion on her process of what inspired her to go from cannabis nursing to other plant entheogens and psychedelics. So we're going to talk to her about that. And I really love this quote of hers. As a functional plant medicine consultant, I help people go from crappy to happy, and I will show you that getting healthy doesn't have to suck. So welcome, Melanie. I'm so happy to have you here today.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. And I want to add a little bit to that quote now too. It's like getting older doesn't have to suck either. Exactly. Like, it's not in all of this in our lives. There's a way for us to live life to our fullest, not having to be held back.
Exactly. And I'm going to tell you, plants are the way. I'm telling you right now, they have completely 100% changed my life more than I ever imagined. Like from sick, suffering, and dying to now thriving and being alive and helping others, right? And creating, cannabis education and helping patients and training nurses and just doing things that I never thought I'd be able to do. I mean, this is like, I had one foot in the grave and one foot on a banana peel, right? And seriously, like most of us. But, everything that happens to me now is just little sprinkles on the cupcake, because plant medicine has truly given me a better quality of life and has allowed me to do things that I never thought I could do again when I was sick. Wow. So, Melanie, so how did you get into functional plant medicine? I really love, let's break that down. We have functional medicine and then now functional plant medicine. And what does that look like?
So the functional medicine is getting at the root cause of your issue, figuring out the why behind what you're suffering with, not just slapping that bandaid on with the prescription. And then I add the plant medicine piece because it gets you over that hump while we're digging into that root cause, gets you over that hump so much quicker, so much easier. And as I say, it's so much more fun. So when you combine the two, it's just kind of like accelerates in your experience and how you're getting healthy and how you're, dealing with everything that you're dealing with. So it's really fun to help people get better and not get worse, which is what I did for many years in conventional medicine, unknowingly.
And that's the part that just stinks too, is, that's why I have a lot of compassion for doctors and nurses, because the endocannabinoid system was discovered in 1988. That's when I graduated from college, right? And so, it hasn't been there. We haven't been taught it. I didn't discover the endocannabinoid system until I was sick, suffering, and dying, and literally suicidal on over 18 pharmaceuticals. And so when I found out, I got mad. I got really, really mad. But then I had to shift and pivot and, why, ask the question why. And now what can we do? How can we shift perceptions around plant medicine? How can we teach people about the endocannabinoid system? How can we do this? And it basically, right, what I'm doing now is getting people on, interviewing nurses and health professionals and people that you would never ever think that use cannabis, so they can share their compelling stories. All of these compelling stories, these anecdotal stories, is really what should be fueling research. And as nurses, we're seeing so much benefit. And that's why we're here today. We're here today to talk about that and to share a lot of the stories that you have and the wisdom that you've gained over the years as being a nurse practitioner. I mean, you're a nurse practitioner, right? Doing functional medicine, teaching cannabinoid therapeutics, and now delving into the other entheogens, for healing, psychedelics. So tell us really quickly about Crossable Health and how do you make healing not suck? Let's talk about how do you make it fun?
Well, it comes down to plant medicine, I think, is how you make it fun. And so Crossable Health is, I work really intimately with people because I think another downfall of our health system is just like cranking out patients. When I worked in primary care, I'd see 26 patients a day. And just cranking them out. Yeah. You have just enough time to type, in that order for the prescription. No time to get into their story or their why or figure out, what else is going on in their environment. So when I work with people, I take a 3-pronged approach of their mind, their body, and their environment, because it all is interconnected. It all plays a huge part in what your outcome and what your story is going to be. And speaking of story, you need someone to listen to your story. Yes. If you just ask questions and actually listen, you can find out so much about what a person's struggling with and kind of tease away the why.
Yeah, like here, think about it, Melanie. The essence of nursing is human caring, and that's caring for the entire human experience, the bio, psycho, social, spiritual aspects of what is going on in their lives, right? We are that connection, having that transpersonal connection where we are really connecting with the patient's spirit. That's literally what's a little bit different about what we're doing with cannabinoid therapeutics and all these plant medicine, because in the conventional system, really, what are we doing? We're focusing on body parts. We're focusing on symptoms. We're focusing on drugs. We're focusing on the side effects of all the drugs.
Diagnoses. Like, who cares what the diagnosis is? Like, let's focus on, what you're feeling, what you're experiencing.
Yeah. And so holding space, spirituality is the root of cannabis care. And really, getting back to woo-woo works, it does. And so, and we're going to actually have an author on to share his story. He wrote a book called Woo Woo Works, and all of these other, healing modalities that are off the beaten path that people say is bullshit, Reiki, energy work, reconnective healing. He has science. So he's going to explain all of it. And it does all tie in. You need that mind, body, and spirit is so, so important. And as I've evolved in the cannabis space as a nurse, it's made me realize it's probably the most important thing. So we're doing things a little bit different. You reach a patient's spirit and you give them hope. What happens? They become inspired, right? And when you're inspired, you're in spirit. And when you're in spirit, the creativity opens up, that neuroplasticity, your ability to process information and to think and to create solutions, right? For yourself.
Absolutely. The mind leads and the body follows.
There you go. And so we have to, we got to bring in, that mental, emotional, spiritual health. And cannabis is a really, really great tool for it. So just correct me if I'm wrong. So would you say that combining like these plants really helps patients to start to process information in a different way so they can actually take action and do things a little bit differently?
Absolutely. And just giving them hope that better is possible and better is out there for them. And you don't have to resort to what maybe the conventional model of medicine has led you to believe is the only answer, which is no answer.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So what led you to take an interest into other plant entheogens and psychedelic medicines for healing? Because everyone, y'all, I'm a psychedelic nurse. I definitely microdose and I definitely work with plant entheogens a lot. We're creating retreats around this. And so, just like cannabis, there's a story that generally goes into it. It's like, because psychedelics too are still stigmatized. I think cannabis is like the gateway into these other plant entheogens for healing. And the science is there. I mean, there's just starting to get started again. So as a nurse practitioner, what were your thought processes about becoming involved in the psychedelic realm, using the plants as well as some of the other medicines?
It was kind of like, why not? Why not? Like, if we have something that's going to help someone, and if we have something that's going to accelerate their growth and their recovery, like, why would we not choose that? Why would we keep that to ourselves? And why would we keep that away from people that need it the most? Yeah, like my situation with getting into using psychedelics and cannabis and all that, thankfully, I wasn't on my deathbed. I wasn't having this, this horrific thing happen. Just things started creeping in. Things, and like things started showing up in my health. And like I wasn't sleeping was the very first thing. I wasn't sleeping for so long, and my brain fog. And then I had some anxiety, and I was starting, I think, like, to be honest, I was depressed, but I wasn't like admitting that to myself. But it wasn't like this really big event. And I was like, okay, there's got to be a better way to go about this than if I just go into my conventional doc and I know what's going to happen. Oh, you're getting older, you had kids, we'll check a few things, and then here's your antidepressant because that's all we have to offer you. I was like, no way. Let's try something else. And so I think there's so many people out there too that like just are settling, because that's what they think life is. Like, this is just part of the process. This is just part of getting older. And that's why I say getting older doesn't have to suck. It's not. And so if you can look out to these different plants, and I mean, these aren't new plants.
They've been around forever.
Yeah,
know, right?
longer than any of the pharmaceuticals. So like, let's get back to the earth and let's get back to things that were working long before pharmaceuticals came in and ruined everything for us. So I'm just really excited for the opportunity for people to also experience this and also get, around the stigma, because it's going to take some time. Cannabis has taken some time. It's still there, but we're getting there.
Totally.
So,
exactly.
any progress, that's what, like with everything in life, I'm like, it's just, even if it's like 2 steps forward, 1.75 steps back, we're still moving forward. So let's just keep focusing on that.
Keep focusing on that. And so that's the other thing too, is having these discussions about psychedelics and what they're due for you and why it's important. Why would you want to do it? Why would you want to consider it? And so, I was kind of thinking about that. A couple of people have, have asked me that question. What is it about it? What is it? What is it? Well, here it is, in my opinion, is that processing emotions is one of the most difficult things we have to do as human beings. And it's really, really hard to process emotions when you're in a loop. Okay. So when you're in that PTSD loop, something triggers you, you can't solve the problem in the mindset that the problem happened with in the beginning. So it has to come from a different place. So just think about, I thought this was just a really cool analogy. So people go on vacations, right? Think about people go on vacations to leave everything behind, to have a different experience, to rest, relax, restore, have enjoyment, have some fun, right? Doing things a little bit different out of the ordinary when you go on vacation. Well, it's the same thing as doing a psychedelic trip, right? You're doing it, and there's a lot of different ways that you can do it, but it's the same concept of you're taking the time. Instead of going out, you're going in, right? So you're taking a vacation, you're journeying inward to explore your mind, right? And then to go out there and have these experiences, to bring it back in, and then to wake up and to have a new perspective, right? That's literally is, for me, in my own personal experience, is going out there, getting the information, whether it be from the plants, the trees, the wind, the goddesses, the angels, whatever comes in, right? Whatever, comes in to provide me with information so I can come back and look at the world through a different lens, right? A healthier lens. I want to show up being the favorite version of myself, right? And how can I do that if I'm stuck in a mindset that is filled with depression or anxiety or negative story loops or the trauma, like the repeating, the mindset of everything going on over and over and over? You have to unplug. It's almost like you have to cut it. And, one of the things that I really love too, as being a ketamine nurse, is really understanding the physiology of what ketamine does to an area of our brain called the lateral habenula. So like learning all of this stuff, dendrite growth, improving neuroplasticity, improving cognitive function. And basically it's about improving our experience as human beings on this earth plane, because we're really only here for just a little bit of time, right?
And giving that gift to yourself, like for once. Yes. You're speaking my language, Sherry. I love it.
Yeah, I do. It's great. And so, there's a couple of nurses even that are out there now that are doing cannabis psychedelic journeys, which I find is very fascinating. And I did it, and it was really, I was like, no, this couldn't happen, but it did.
Oh, I haven't experienced that myself, and I had a couple reservations similarly, like, can you really get into there? But I've also heard from feedback from other people that, yeah, it's totally possible, and it does work.
It was really interesting. So it was a Zoom session, and the nurse that did it, she's out in Oregon. I'm not going to give her name in case she doesn't want me to give her name, but it was really, really cool. And I think she still does them. I'm not sure, but what it entailed is setting the intention like you would, you know what I mean? Set and setting, I was in my own room. It was over Zoom. She had us get a variety of different cannabis strains. And literally it was about setting an intention and then doing either a puff or a bong rip or whatever. And you did as many as you could within a specific time frame. that you felt comfortable doing, right? Depending upon how deep you wanted to go. And so she watched you. We put the headset on, we put the mindfold on, and then went under. And it was really, really cool. And it was really, really interesting to have. It was a very different type of experience with cannabis because you consumed a lot at the same time. So it was all through inhalation, but really, really fascinating, having that deep dive using plant medicine. I felt like I was going into the garden of my brain, you know what I mean? To start to uncover things that were dirty and just to really shed light. The cannabis plant was able to shed light on a lot of different aspects of stuff that I didn't even know that existed. And that's what I think too is, that's a baby step. We can do that. We can use cannabis in a way to bring us to different states of consciousness and awareness.
Absolutely. That's so cool. Were you able to like tap into like previous plant experiences and kind of previous journeys in that cannabis experience that you had?
I didn't. I wasn't able to do that. It was really different because I've experienced many of the other psychedelics. It was a very gentle ride, but it was really great. I've had some of the other, plants that I've experienced. I've done psilocybin, microdosing, psilocybin big journeys. I've done LSD journeys. I've done an ayahuasca journey, and I've done a DMT journey, and I've also done MDMA. And so they're all very, very different. They bring you to different states of consciousness. You have different experiences. But I'm going to tell you, from a nurse, in my very strong opinion, some of them can be really fun, and a lot of people can, want to do it as a recreational experience. I just say, be careful, be cautious, because this is plant medicines. These are really, really powerful tools. And when you are dealing with your mind, you really have to I think it's very important to be intentional, right? And to go in it, being serious, because think about this. When you go on a psychedelic journey, you're leaving this meat suit, this body, right? You're going out, right? Even though you're going in, part of your body just kind of, I feel like it melts away, right? So you're having this experience. You have to take care of your body. So being in a space of enjoyment, sometimes people can overconsume that as well and become reckless and hurt themselves. So I'm a big fan for plant medicines and entheogens, psychedelics for healing. And, for the whole recreational crowd out there, I just caution you to be very, very careful. Very, very careful.
I agree 100%. You have to have in the right space with the right knowing someone that knows what they're doing, because that when people have those bad experiences and have that, something potentially could happen, that's where the stigma, the stigma is just going to keep growing from that.
It's going to keep growing. Exactly. It is, so, because it's such an unregulated market, you know what I mean? There's a lot, it's still illegal in a lot of places, just starting to decrease. Same. It's just like we're in this space of flux where you just got to be really careful. You're going to protect yourself, against the law, and also just to protect your mind, body, and spirit. Working with these plants and really, really digging in deep, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful experience. It really, really is healing. It helps you to look at things from different perspectives, but the safety, this is why we're talking about it. We want you all to be safe.
And have respect for the plants.
Exactly. Have respect for the plants and for the process, right? For the entire process. So how do you see the role of psychedelics playing a part in the evolution of healthcare?
I mean, I think just kind of like how cannabis was, people just want they're like so desperate and eager for another answer, for another option. And I just, I think we're a long ways away from where cannabis is as being recognized in the, medical healthcare system, unfortunately. But again, progress is progress. We can't let that go. And it's going to end up, it has to. I mean, I'm an eternal optimist. So like it has to eventually, it's criminal to not let people have these things that will make them better and not make them worse. Plain and simple.
I completely 100% agree with you. So here's the question. What do you think is worse, stigma around cannabis or psychedelics? Or does it depend upon what is legal and what isn't?
I think stigma, well, so being in Colorado, the stigma around cannabis and maybe it's also the crowd I'm with, it's not really there as much. I think the psychedelics in general tend to have more of a stigma more of, at this point, like maybe more of a party kind of like approach to using them, or like a recreational approach to using them in the general population, maybe, or like, wait, you do what? You use what kind of thing. So, and I think the legality plays a big part in that for people too. So I think probably the psychedelics are tipping the scale on that.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, how do you utilize, plant entheogens and other plants besides cannabis in your practice?
Well, I'm just actually getting started with that. And so with seeing what is I do underneath the laws that I practice under, I see what's available. And so we're just and I educate people and see what they're needing help with, and guide them towards the product that probably would be the best help for them.
Yeah. Yeah. So what are your thoughts about ketamine? Because ketamine is a drug, right? It's a dissociative. It's been used as an anesthetic, for children and horses.
Yeah.
Right. And so, now we're seeing, ketamine, companies coming on board, Keta MD. I'm one of the nurse guides for Keta MD, as you are.
Yep.
And so what are your thoughts on that about ketamine?
It's pretty incredible what it can do. And you don't need, like, one session could knock it out for you. So I am a big fan of ketamine. I think that is and if we can put that in the psychedelic space, I think that one is probably going to be most destigmatized the quickest. I think maybe that might actually be the one that's going to pave the way for us and open the door for us.
Right. Right.
Because it is a prescription. It is something
a prescription. It's a
can
Schedule
get.
2.
I thought it,
right, isn't it?
Yes.
Schedule 2
or 3. I should know
or
this.
3. I should know this too. Anyways, it's not a Schedule 1, which means that it's not illegal.
Right.
You can have it with a prescription, right?
Yes.
And so generally people that go to have these ketamine sessions, they meet with a psychiatrist or a doctor and go through an intake form, and then they determine whether it's appropriate or not for them, to have that session.
Yes. So I'm really excited for the opportunity that ketamine's going to do for everybody. I think it's that's one to watch out for.
Yeah.
In a good way.
Yeah. So what do you think about nurses that have their own personal experiences? How do you think that might be helpful for the clients that we guide?
I think that's imperative. I'm in the process of going to be setting up some prescribing for ketamine. But I had my own ketamine experience first. And as a nurse, as a nurse practitioner, I always feel that having experience as a nurse, you can then have experience, it makes you just a better provider. And so the same thing when if you're guiding someone through whatever experience that you're guiding them through, having your own thing to kind of tap into, it's imperative. I think you have to have that experience to be able to talk to someone else about it.
Yeah, I agree. And then, what do you think about integration? So if, I've had a few ketamine experiences, but what does self-integration look like? If you were to, a lot of clients will have the experience and they'll work with an integrative facilitator, or they'll work with their therapist, or they'll work with their psychiatrist. And then there's some people that want to do it on their own, like do the whole self-integration piece of it on their own. So what do you think about that?
If you have the resources to do it on your own, if you have someone, and I think that could be okay, but that integration piece is so crucial to making the experience what you need with it. So after I did my ketamine experience, a week later, a friend was working on getting her hypnotherapy license and needing to do some hypnotherapy sessions. I was like, oh yeah, I'm always volunteering for anything like that. Mm-hmm. So it was like a week after my ketamine experience. And it was so awesome because I was able to tap in to that ketamine experience through the hypnotherapy. And so having that type of integrative care was, I mean, I highly recommend that for everyone. So
Right.
I mean, maybe someone who's super seasoned and maybe they have their their own therapy background, or if they did it, I guess that wouldn't be by themselves if they're, talking with a friend. I don't know.
Right. I agree.
I
honestly
caution.
think
I
it
caution.
I agree. I agree. I think you need to, because here's the thing, right? You have these experiences, and then what happens is over time, bits and pieces, you're going to have those aha moments, right? Those aha moments that just make sense. And it's going to come over time. You don't get it all at once. Like you may have that psychedelic experience where you're having all of these different visions, images, words, like whatever your experience is, but does it all make sense right then and right there? No, it doesn't over time. And that's what integration is having the ability to remember specific things that have happened and then associate it with something else to process information.
For sure.
Really, really cool.
Yeah.
All right. So what do we have here? I've got a couple more questions here for you. So here we go. Basically, we know every company is different when they have their own procedures. So, scope of practice, policy and procedures. What do you think is essential for, for nurse practitioners and nurses working in the psychedelic space? What types of standards of practice should be established? Or what do you see as the nurse role?
I think you got to get your legal ducks in a row. You got to get a consent in place to protect yourself, protect your license. And I think you can't go. I mean, we live in this litigious society. You got to do that first. And having experience, your own experience before diving in to try and help people. I think you got to get that piece in. And then if you're doing dosing, you gotta have that dialed in. Because as we were saying, like, you got to have respect for the plants, and you don't want to get over your head and be recommending something that you should be recommending, and you're not really ready for. So finding a mentor, finding someone that can help, that you can talk things through, and figuring out that piece of it, I think is pretty crucial.
Yeah. So Carrie Lee just piped in. Carrie Lee is the nursing supervisor at Keta MD. She's actually our nursing supervisor. So I just want to say thank you. Green Nurse, Iowa, Carrie Lee, Schedule 3. So ketamine is a Schedule 3.
Yeah, I thought it was.
All right.
Okay. Thanks, Carrie. Hi.
Thank you, Carrie. I know we should have known that. I just want to say hi to a couple other people out there. There is a Canna Mama Go Eat person out there with a name, and I'm just looking, and I'm just saying hello to you. Are my message is going to be addressed? Yes, I am addressing your message right now. Please private message me if you have any other questions. Hey, Carrie Lee. Hey, Jessica. Hey, Deanna. Thank you guys all for joining us tonight. Really, really grateful. So we're going to close it up. Let's talk a little bit more about Crossable Health, how people can find you. And the types of services that you offer. So if they wanted to book a consultation.
Thank you. Yeah. So I do free consults, a free 30-minute consult that you can find me at crossablehealth.com is my website. And there's a link there to schedule. You can also, I'm most active on Instagram at Crossable Health. You can find me there, and there'll be a link to schedule in my bio there. And then Facebook, I'm Crossable Health as well there. And that's CROSSABLE Health.
Yep. Excellent. And right down below this broadcast, I have her Instagram, her Facebook, and her website there. So you guys will be able to reach out to Melanie.
Awesome.
So one last plug, join us in the community, the Green Nurse Holistic Caring Community. It is a free community for patients and providers from all over the globe, not just nurses. And so what we have is we have a free introductory to cannabis course. It's an uncensored community where you can get all of your questions answered. We have a lot of different topics. We have a patient portal, free patient support group, free book club. And guess what? You don't even need to own the book. How cool is that? Isn't Elizabeth Mack a badass? She goes, yeah, book club. No one needs to own the book. I'm like, cool, let's do it. So here we go. So we have
So
this community
awesome.
for you all. We have this community for you all. And we really want you to come and join us, come learn with us, come be educated, be empowered. We're here to teach you all how to live your best life using plant medicines and other progressive tools that support and nourish the endocannabinoid system. So anyways, hope you all have a fantastic, fabulous Wednesday. Happy Hempy Hump Day. Join us tomorrow. We've got Carrie Lee on tomorrow at 9 a.m. And we're going to be talking about the history of seasonal affective disorder and all of the different, the history of that and how it came about and the different providers that started to educate on it and some of the things that they used to do in the past for that type of disorder and how cannabis obviously can help with that as well. So thank you all for joining us. We love you. Stay elevated, stay lifted, and remember what it's all about. It's about living your best life and helping others do the same.